everybody, I'm Melissa Joyner, and today we're at the Boathouse in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And this series will be plugging you into the local music scene here along the Grand Strand. Make sure you hang around after the song because we're going to learn about the man behind the music with our good friend Michael Hucks.
The song is called It's Black.
The new day sky dissolves into blue. You know that captivating somber hue. And though it burns me when I look it in the eye, I still try. 'Cause I never learned tune it out, this constant static. When it's easier to live in doubt of everything. You fell under the weight of my hand, intentions that you couldn't understand. But I convinced myself that I could make you see. Oh, I tried. But I never learned to hang around for resolution. When it's easier to go lay down and just cover up. But I finally caught your ghost in the hall, and we rearranged the photos on our wall, knowing we would never get it right, but we tried. And I never learned to fight it off, that sinking feeling. 'Cause it's easier to write it off and just walk away. And I realized the sky isn't blue. No, it's just how my perception skews. Some phenomenon that I could never comprehend. But I tried.
Michael, thank you so much for coming out and playing your song today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. You were actually telling me that you just debuted this song, so it's the first time anyone's heard this, right?
Yep. So whenever you asked me to do it, I was, trying to figure out what song I was going to try and play. But this one kind of just kind of popped up to me out of this old phone recording from about 5 years ago, and I've never played it for anyone before. I mean, this is like the first time it's ever been played into a microphone before. Like, it's literally like a brand new kind of thing, but like old and from a different time in my life. And I kind of forgot about it, honestly, and like just found it and thought it would be a cool one to come out and give to this project.
Oh, that's so awesome. It's like a present from past you to current you, right?
Sure, or past me to current you, or whoever, I don't know. Like, it was a thing that, it's not that I ever, put it away intentionally. It just kind of like was a time where I wasn't really doing a ton of music in any kind of real way. I just was doing it as a way to kind of write down my thoughts.
Well, thank you so much for bringing it out into the light of day. Actually, one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show is because of how intimate and how inviting your songs are. We've been so lucky to hear you play with so many other acts in this area. It was really important to us to showcase you and your songs, and I know that everyone is going to love it just as much as we do. I was wondering, what are some of your influences in your writing?
Ooh, okay, so I think one of the first artists that ever really struck me as like a songwriter. I'm a huge Conor Oberst fan. Bright Eyes, like I just like going back to like my teen years, like some of the first music that I've always been a fan of music, like from a sound piece, but the writing, you know, when you first like kind of get into your real life, you know, like out of childhood and like start becoming a young adult, and some song just like hits you for the first time and you're like, oh my God, like music means something, like
Right.
like the writing like means something.
I'll never forget that moment.
And you can like, I don't know, just kind of encapsulate this huge idea into a lyric, you know. And if you can take something that's like, hey, I'm really sad because all this stuff happened, and like you can say that in 10 words, like that to me became very interesting to me when I was younger. And you know, Bright Eyes was one of those bands that like, I guess I was just kind of going through my angsty like teen years too. And don't get me wrong, like I still listen to them right
Yeah,
now.
like we still have those
I love
days
them.
now.
I love
Yeah.
them. Like I love Conor Oberst, like one of my heroes. But that was definitely one of my first influences in writing. And so all my stuff kind of tends to be like sort of sad, but I think that's just like the time that I write, you know, like it's the time that I write, like when, and I'm sure this is a common theme, but like when life is going good and everything's awesome, like I'm out living life.
Right.
And when everything's kind of sad and drab and terrible, like I'm stuck in my hole, you know, like just trying to cope with shit. And
So I love that you talked about how the songs get you through different times and influence you at different times. I was wondering if there are any like song lyrics that have hung in your head and haunted you in maybe a good or bad way that you just keep hearing over and over again.
I'll answer it like this. The way that I think when someone does like a good job with writing a song is when they're able to take a really complex concept or emotion or thought or something like that and bring it into something like really condensed that makes you feel the same energy. Like if someone spent 10 minutes telling you a story, that the punchline or whatever, you know, would be how you're supposed to feel at the end of that. And someone can do that in a sentence, that is huge. Like
Right.
that is huge. So
Powerful.
like, I don't really have like a particular one off the top of my head, but like, you know, we're talking about Bright Eyes stuff, like there's one that like, I remember that moment when I was younger and I was listening to music and I was in this very weird time in my life. Like I just like quit my job and I had this plan. I had like $1,500 saved up and I was gonna like go to Canada and like, you know, just do this thing and like,
I love it.
And on my way up, I was gonna go stay in this my grandparents had this cabin up in like the North Georgia mountains, and on the way up to Canada, I was like gonna go stop there for a couple days and just like, you know, just kind of like center out. And I was listening to this Bright Eyes album, Digital Ashes in a Digital Urn, and there's a song on there called Hit the Switch. And there's this lyric in there that I always thought was so well done, that he's talking about this relationship that he has with this person that is basically like way more mentally stable and healthy than he is. And, you know, she's always like just this positive person who's like, come on out like anytime. And the lyric is, and each morning she wakes with a dream to describe something lovely that bloomed in her beautiful mind. I say, I'll trade you one for 2 nightmares of mine. I have some where I die. I have some where we all die.
Right.
I was like, whoa, dude, like what a cool way of putting the, like encapsulating this whole thing, where he's like, just this relationship with this person that he has that is a lot more sound than he is, and kind of handle that weight. And he's like kind of asking, like, I won't go into like super depth of what I think that means, but you know, the idea that this person is able to like take some of the burden off of him and say like,
Give
can
it
I
to
have
someone
one of
else.
your dreams, and also like, can I give you 2 nightmares of mine, like, you know, and that the 2 nightmares are like, I have somewhere I die, I have somewhere we all die. And it's just like kind of puts this thing in, like this person is like having a tough go at it, you know, and
Right.
like just like kind of relying on somebody. So that's a lyric that like I think it was one of the first ones that, it's not something that rings through my head every day now, but I remember being younger and like very impressionable and just realizing the power of that lyric.
Well, that's where creation breeds sometimes, is when we have those moments and we're looking for a way to express them or to get out of those moments. And music is comforting in that way too.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about inspiration in those lyrics. And so I was wondering, in this crazy year that we've had here, I know you do so many things on camera, off camera, and especially doing other projects for other musicians. What is something that inspires you? I know we talked earlier about pain and hardship, but what in general inspires you?
Like musically or
anything in the world?
General?
Yeah.
That changes all the time, I guess. I kind of, my day-to-day life is very like up and down. You know, I have a lot of, anyone who knows me, you know, knows that I go through these sort of periods of, I'm very present, very like, you could call it like manic, I guess. And like I'm getting a lot of things done and I'm seeing the world and like I'm feeling good. And then times where I'm just like kind of living in my cave. And I think the transition between those two things is always where I get really inspired, when I'm coming out of that hole. And it's a thing I've always dealt with, you know, like just kind of anxiety and depression kind of stuff. And then like coming out of that, and the reason that you come out of it, I think that's the inspiring thing. Like there is, because at some point you realize that the only alternative is just like live in that hole forever and just kind of like die alone, you know, like saying, I don't want to die like this, you know, like that, like just the idea that life exists, like that can be an inspiration. Or, you know, sometimes I meet somebody who, you know, has like a cool story, or they're like more, they have something really interesting to say or
Thank you for being so vulnerable and open about that. I feel like that's such a huge part of writing songs, is the ebb and flow of how we feel or how we want to feel. If you could play any venue in the world and with anyone on stage, who would you play with and where would you play? What would be a dream for you?
You know, a place I'd really love to play would be, there's a place in Dahlonega, Georgia called the Crescent Moon. And I remember like, so I'm from like the North Georgia area, like a little bit north of Atlanta. And I remember like going to shows there, and every one that played there was just so badass. Like it wasn't a huge venue, it's very intimate. But the people that they had come through there, every show I've ever seen there has just been like people that I've been inspired by. So play a lot of like bluegrass music there, and like just kind of like post-modern like country stuff. Like it's just that would be a place that I would love to play, no matter what level I was ever at. Like I would love to be there and do something there.
Well, guys, we've talked so much today about different parts of songwriting and inspiration, and I hope this is inspiring you as much as it is me. Please tune in with us every Friday as we dive into the stories about the songs and the songwriters behind them. Thanks so much for hanging out.
You fell under the weight of my hand, intentions that you couldn't understand. But I convinced myself that I could make you see. Oh, I tried. But I never learned to hang around for resolution.